And I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of last month.
So moved.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. First on the agenda tonight is Smyrna Rescue Squad. I think you got the report in front of you. Anything on the report you need to let us know about?
No, it's very simple, quick. We had 11 MVAs March. We had 1 city call this month, 1 medical assist, 4 trainings, and 2 maintenance. That just includes building vehicles, cleanup, stuff like that.
Is that, when you talk about training, is that training exercise or is it hours?
It's training hours.
It's training hours,
Yes.
so you had 4 hours of training a month?
Well, it's 4 trainings a month, consisting of
Our training goes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours.
2 to
depending on
4
what
hours, yeah.
We do actual training hands-on with,
Okay.
practice vehicle extrication, cribbing, IEs, things like that.
And out of those 34 MVAs out of the 3 months, how many of them did y'all actually extricate?
I think we had 3 extrications.
probably 3, Commissioner Farley, I would say. It's been very slow in the north end of the county here lately.
That's a good thing.
Oh, yes, it's a very good thing. It's excellent.
Anybody has any questions for David? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank y'all.
Commissioner Farley, have a good night.
You too.
Yes, sir.
Next on the agenda is the bicycle committee updates, Commissioner Williams and Ms. Lovett. Welcome again.
Thanks. Thank you for putting the subcommittee together. We've had a real productive couple of meetings. We have Mr. Williams and myself are on the committee, as well as a representative from the Sheriff's Office, from the EMS, from the County Planning Office. And we've had a couple of citizens actually show up for the meetings. And we are working together with the County Highway Department. We're working together to start working on ranking roads, to identify roads that are less safe than others, to put together in a packet that we'll hand out to cyclists and to motorists. We're also working on some educational programs for motorists as well as cyclists, so that motorists understand that cyclists have the same rights of the road, but that cyclists also understand they have to obey the same rules of the road if they want to keep the same rights of the road. And then we're working together on putting together a permit for cycling events, and Mr. Williams is going to talk about that a little bit. We wanted to get your approval before we move forward with anything else.
That was probably the main part of why we wanted to come to the committee. One of the discussions that we've had is like a parade permit, but the reason that we were wanting to offer the permit or come up with this would be to educate all of the people that are in the cycling for a period of time. And we haven't really come up with a specific proposal, but we wanted to see, number one, if this committee wanted to, then it probably needed to be run by legal to see how that would pan out before we got into any more of the details. But basically what we wanted to do was to have a permit that was no cost. The permit would include or things primarily the day that they wanted to, the time, and we were looking at numbers of more than 5 or 10 people. We don't know about the number part yet of how many on there, but when they were having groups that would span out for a good long ride, and if you had, for example, if you had anything, it was going to congest the road over that would spread out for a mile or half a mile or whatever it was, you'd want to do that. But the other point was so the sheriff would know that these folks would be on these roads that would have this many. The EMS would know if they got a call to, the idea was that they'd fill out this permit, doesn't cost them anything, and the planning department, or however, would fax this over to the sheriff's department and the EMS, so they would know that these were the intended roads and the day and time, and that there would be 20, 30, 40 bicyclists that would be riding on this. So, and during that time, when they come to get a permit, we would put together this literature to pass out to all the cyclists, so they would understand that you have what all the rules that they need to abide by, and then we're going to get some press and advertise what all the rules are. So the main reason for the coming to the committee was about that permit, to see what y'all thought about this, if we need it, and if you needed to vote or to send it through legal to get us an outline of what we want to do with that.
I think the permit issue is a good idea. I think, well, the city of Murfreesboro does it for like for parades,
Right.
for the half marathon and different things where the emergency service people, they know what roads are shut down or congested or whatever, and that'll help out, like you say, the sheriff's department, the EMS, and the volunteer fire departments in that area, and different ones that may need to know that. So.
And the biggest thing that we think would be that those people that are cyclists that really, there's a lot of them, I mean, a lot of motorists and cyclists that just don't know the rules.
Right.
There are a lot of cyclists that think that they are to be treated as pedestrians, and they've got the right of way to go through stop signs and to not to have to be treated like a car. So we're going to use that for a tool to educate
both sides of it.
Educate both sides, and to let the sheriff's department know that you've got 30 riders going down this road and that road on this particular day. So I don't think that's too much for the cyclists to do if they're going to, and the number we need to go through and look at to see what that would be, but that was the primary focus of that.
Yeah.
So whatever y'all would think on that. So
Anybody else think anything?
In the discussion, how did the cyclist groups look at this?
We're used to filling out permits, or we do the parade permit when we're in the city. So I think it's just the next step. I think for us it's a safety issue, because what we would do once we come to an agreement on what the volume of cyclists would be, we're kind of debating between, would it be the paid rides where we have, you know, like 200 or 300 people come to town and participate in an event, or if it's our regular club rides where we have 20 people show up. Either way, we would complete the permit and attach the cue sheet, which is the route that we plan to take, because we always have cue sheets and maps of where we're going to ride. So that would be attached. So that's a real safety issue for us, knowing that the sheriff and EMS know where we're going to be. The other thing that EMS and the sheriff's office folks both brought up was we would know where you are in case there's an emergency for something else, and we won't come plowing through there, you know. So I think it's a really good idea, and I think the bicycling community is going to be just fine with it. Their concern was, were we going to have to, each individuals have to have a permit to ride our bikes on the road, and I think you'll have a lot of resistance to that, and there's some real legal stuff throughout.
but that wasn't the intent. It was more for
This is
safety and
information
education.
Well, I think you probably could start off at the major rides when you got 20, 30, 40, cyclists, and then maybe do that and then see where that goes.
Part of the challenge for doing it, you know, if we're doing it for club rides, like Saturday I posted a ride and I had 20 people show up. I didn't know how many people were going to be there, so to know if I needed to do a permit or not would have been a bit of a challenge. But if we know it's a paid ride and we have people that are, you know, sending in their money beforehand, and we have registered riders, that's a little bit easier. But if it comes down that we need to do it for club rides, we'll figure out a way to make it work as well. I mean, we're pretty.
And then the other thing that was discussed was that if we did this on the lower number, revisit it after a year, after everybody's had an opportunity to be on page, educated about that. So, you know, go back and revisit it and not make it a cumbersome thing. So.
Right.
It's better to
I
be
think it's
safe
reasonable.
than sorry
Absolutely.
and do a permit. There's another thing, you're never gonna know how many are gonna show up, because if the weather's good, you'll get a good crowd.
You're exactly right. You're exactly, well, when we have a general rule of thumb with our paid rides, we always double whatever we pre-register, and last year we almost tripled what we pre-registered. So you're right, it is difficult to tell, but we know we're gonna have more than 50 when we do a pay ride. We just, you know, we run between 200 and 600 on those.
But the one other thing in that is she mentioned about rating the roads. We're going to use the same rating system that Doug said that was already existing to some degree. I think you brought up y'all brought up certain roads that they're not really good with no shoulders and slowing things, and we've got several out in my district for sure. But that way it would let the cyclists know, well, if there's a safer route and I can still get there, to avoid those when possible.
Right.
So, you may not know until you get on one, and with the big trucks and the amount of traffic, and Doug's gonna be working on getting all of the counts that as best we can based on what the TDOT has said or the sheriff's department has rated them on that, so.
And they're already doing some look at the Rutherford County roads, the 6-county region that the Metropolitan Planning Organization out of Davidson County is working on. And I'm part of that group. So we're already have a rating system of like A to F. And so we kind of already have the tools in place. So it should go fairly smoothly with the planning office working with the highway department and the sheriff's office. And I did get you an answer to the double line passing, and it came from a sheriff. So you can argue with him if you like. He said pretty much treat it like like you would the mailman. If your sight's clear, even though you have a double line and they're moving slowly enough that you can get around them with a safe distance, that is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, the mail office service has priority over everything, including fire engines.
It's just out of the mouth of the sheriff's office. So
Thank you. I appreciate you looking into that.
Yeah, I wanted to get you that answer.
How far are some of these rides? Aren't they 30 and 40 miles sometimes?
The paid rides are 30, 62, and some of them are 100, have a 100-mile route.
Right.
Our club rides on Tuesdays and Thursdays average between 20 and 30 miles, and then our Saturday and Sunday rides run from 40 to 60. Sundays usually are 20 or 30.
Have you heard how many deaths there's been on I know of 2 deaths from bicyclists. I think there was one out Leanna, I think a few years ago, and then you mentioned the one in Laverne.
The one in
National Highway.
Leanna was 2 years ago, and the one on Old National Highway was not a death. He was paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh, okay.
Those are all that I know of in Rutherford County. There's been 3 pretty highly publicized ones within Tennessee where we actually got a new law passed in the name of 2 of the cyclists. That's where the 3-foot law came from that I shared with you guys the first time I was here. The other one is actually just happened in August in Kingston, between Kingston and Oak Ridge, and there are some charges of reckless endangerment on that one. They think he was maybe texting or talking on the cell phone or something. But in Rutherford County proper, I don't think there's been any deaths other than Jim Benson. But we do need to know, I think we need to get the crash data from the sheriff's office, because I'm sure there have been accidents that haven't resulted in death, and we want to get that and make sure we're ranking these roads adequately.
Are y'all needing something from us tonight, or?
Well, the only the issue was about the permit.
Okay.
Now, we just put it out there, so I guess proper procedure would be that y'all would either vote to do this and send it to legal for them to draft up something for us to then have to put the numbers of people that we're going to require that to do would be.
I think at some point, they may not know the number yet, but I think at some point there's going to have to be some kind of permitting for multiple cyclists and events and things like that. So, we kind of know there may need to be a permit, but I guess he needs to know, or they need to know if it's illegal or the legalities of it.
Well, if y'all want to do that, and then we just need one drafted up from the legal, so it would meet all the criteria. So,
what's the will of the committee?
Well, I'll make a motion. I think we definitely you have to have a permit, because just the roads in this county, there's going to be a lot of them. Almaville Road, for example, it's a populated road. It's a good road to get to a lot of places, and the shoulders are about non-existent, and there's drop-offs. So, I mean, just from that reason, it's good to have it, because
we live on a bad one.
Yeah, Rucker's kind of a crazy
Well,
one.
there's several areas of Bradyville Road that doesn't have any shoulders either, those real drop offs.
Jefferson Pike. Jefferson Pike.
Jefferson,
You're
yeah,
right,
it's
going
Jefferson
out
Pike.
there.
Well, now they rumble strip Jefferson Pike, that makes it even less.
one other thing that we really haven't mentioned, but it's forthcoming, we get all this other put together, then we can put signs up that says bicycling road, you know, and have a rating on this road when you're going. So those that, once they understand that the roads have a rating on it, when they see that, you know, the highway department will put signs up if and when we come up with that too, on a bunch of the roads around. So that would be helpful for everybody as well.
It's all got it towards prevention and education.
That's right. That's right.
I'll second that, just to, so we'll keep on discussing. Are we gonna close this just for cycling now, or is this something when you send it to legal, you want them to look at everything? Cause I'm thinking just motorcycles and these poker runs that they're running. The Q sheets alone would be beneficial, cause I know we've had more than one accident and we're trying to find out where they originated from so we can notify people. You know, we've had basically people on motorcycles had an accident and we're trying to notify folks, and we know where it originated from. We have a contact then, and I think that's what'll go on this permit is be emergency contact or contact information of whoever's running the event, right?
Right. Because we have a sign-in sheet when we do events, even just club rides. We have everybody sign in and have an emergency phone number so that if they do have an accident, we know how. You know, if we're with them, we know who to contact. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I don't want to open more beans, but are we going to?
Well, that's up to this committee. I mean, we were just assigned a task to try to go with the bicyclist for that. So I think that's, you know, once you get the groundwork for that, I think it just as easy to put that in there as well. So.
Well, to do that, do I need to make another appointment as far as to adding to the committee someone from the?
Again, I don't know. I don't want to throw too many beans in the same pot, but I'm just thinking if we're going to do this, and it looks like we're going to do some kind of a parade type permit, and who will, you know what I'm saying, who is all going to then fall under needing to do that?
Well, it's going
any organized events that go via cycling, walking, running, motorcycles, and I think legal, if I don't want to put words in Jim Cope's mouth, but I think that's what they're going to ask down there, is what we limited this thing to.
Well, that's up to the committee and the commission and legal, I would guess. I mean, we're just addressing this one aspect of it right now, but so I wouldn't be opposed to the whole gamut, you know, if you're looking at that for all the same reasons. But
let's send it to them, see what they come back with. I would like to see it just take everything all at one time, and we got one permit.
One thing we hadn't discussed, and I don't know if y'all discussed it, is there any criteria, or at least in your mind, where the county would be justified in denying a permit?
It would be up to the county.
That's something that we hadn't really talked about.
Well, that's a question that legal is going to have to address.
Our sole purpose was just to start, finish, and the roads we're going to for information for all of the departments and everybody to know and in case to educate. So denying the permit on that would come on the heels of a different aspect of this, I guess.
Well, the reason I even brought that up is, you know, I don't like the idea of regulation. You know, kind of like, well, I guess it was William Penn, the best government's the government stays out of everybody's business, and I prefer to do that. But I can see where this can be helpful to your group and to, you know, the safety of citizens out there. So I'm not against it, but I definitely want to review it, say within 6 months, see what kind of problems arise from it. If there's some hardships, or, you know, it may be that this is a really good idea. So.
Have you seen if there's any other counties that has a template or something that you can kind of go by?
We pulled the Murfreesboro city template. I haven't done a whole lot of research. I just haven't had a chance to look. But I know other communities ask for parade permits, and it's a more of an informational
What's the threshold? I mean, as far as, is it 30 cyclists, 20 cyclists?
We haven't come up with that.
Why don't we do this? And Commissioner Daniel made a good point here too. This may be, and this is going to be a law. We probably need to bring this thing back through, once it goes through legal, bring it back to the steering committee and legislative committee process. And also, and I just thought of this. Right now, you're just looking at cyclists. And that was the task that the committee was set up for. During the process, if you know, when you, I guess, meet with Attorney Cope, tell, you can ask them that some of the commissioners have brought up other things like, motorcycles and stuff like that, and what kind of guidance he would give us for that.
Talking to me. Okay.
I mean, I just figured that are you gonna be going, who's gonna be going to?
I don't know, I mean, that's the reason we're here, we got to this point, so, I don't know.
Is that the next appropriate step for one of us to take it to the attorney? And
I mean, I would
go
just
from there?
assume that he could draft something up based on,
Yeah.
the dialogue out of this, but, or to say, can't do
He's
it.
gonna need more detail of what
Okay.
you want. Actually,
Right.
if you have a form to suggest,
Okay.
that's usually preferable, and he can make suggestions,
Okay.
but he'll do
I can
whatever
do
you
it.
want.
Or we can do that.
Sure, I mean, I
Yeah,
don't have,
we'll
I
figure
mean,
something out.
whichever direction we need to go.
Why don't we do this? Y'all proceed on with the bicycle part. I will contact Jim Cope about any other activities like the motorcycles, whatever, as chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and see what he advises on that. Y'all take care of the cycling part, and I'll take care of the other side of it. And so what they're gonna need is actual something already on paper.
There's suggestions of information they think needs to
Okay.
be on
Okay,
it,
we
that
can
he
put
can
together a
add and
draft.
subtract.
Okay,
Okay.
we can do that.
Yeah, we just have a list of things that think, like, Commissioner Hall was saying, contact information.
Right.
In the event of emergencies on, if the lead person gets knocked over, who steps up?
Right.
So,
Or if someone gets hurt and, who their next of kin is, and someone may need to call, and to notify them that someone's hurt or whatever,
yeah, I mean, there's
for contact. Robert?
One thing I wanted to remind everybody is when we first started talking about this, it was because of a liability issue that a county, not in this state, occurred because of a bicycling accident. So we actually started looking into this because of a liability to the county. So, we didn't just decide we were gonna pick on bicyclists.
Right. Yeah.
We don't feel picked on.
Just a reminder, right?
We don't feel picked
Food for
on.
thought.
Well, we wanna help you.
I
So-
understand,
Yeah,
and
the
I appreciate
situation
that.
in Iowa that had happened on that, when we discussed about that particular issue on that.
Yeah, they picked us and let us know we had a problem.
Right.
But once y'all get that, we can come back through public safety, and then public safety deems it needs to go to steering, and we can go from there.
As we work on some of the educational pieces or the handbook that we're gonna hand out to cyclists and work with getting out to motorists, do you all want to see that before we move forward with it? Or how do you want us to proceed out of the committee, out of the subcommittee?
I think that if the subcommittee can make a final recommendation to the public safety committee, and then public safety can actually vote it up yes or no. And I think once that gets done, we can, if it's gonna have a law or a county ordinance or whatever, I think we can send it to steering and go through that process. How's that sound to the committee? Okay.
Okay. All right. I will tell you, May is Bicycle Awareness Month, and we're probably going to have some educational, some bike rodeos for kids and things going on throughout the county. I know EMS has one planned for the 15th of May. So there'll be some things coming on we'll hope to get publicized, so you guys will be seeing some of that information coming out.
Last meeting, did we talk about y'all getting with IT and maybe doing some kind of video? Okay, I was
Yes, and
thinking
we are talking about that as well with the Channel 19 folks. Yeah, definitely.
Very good.
Okay, anything else?
Are you gonna vote on that motion? Okay,
Yeah.
no, that's all I
Yeah.
got.
Let me see if this is your motion. Request the county attorney review a form permit for use by groups of bicycle riders provided by the bicycle committee.
Anybody else have a motion to go on the floor? Any questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. All right, thank y'all.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we got the juvenile judge's budget, Judge Donna Scott. Davenport.
Good evening.
Good evening, how you doing?
As I say, I'm always glad to be the one that presents this to you every year. But I'm
Still doing
yes,
it.
still a juvenile judge. I think you'll find it It mirrors exactly last year's. We didn't make any changes. The mayor asked us to work within what we were doing, and that's what we're gonna do.
So it's identical to last year.
Identical. We're just happy where we are with what we have.
And you've already met with the mayor on this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Met last week.
Does anybody have any questions for the judge?
Motion to approve her.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Judge, real quick, I want
Yes,
to
sir.
ask while we're public safety meeting here. You see a lot of the juveniles and some of the problems that they're facing, and families and so forth. How bad is the drug problem here in this county among juveniles, do you feel?
We've always had a drug problem. It's everything I see is the worst I've ever seen it. And I've been on the bench 12 years.
Yeah.
It's the worst crimes. It's the youngest children.
Mm-hmm.
We're totally out of control.
Yeah.
I'm
What
just being
advice,
brutally honest.
what advice would you give commissioners or anybody else, parents or anybody else that may, have a nephew or children or brothers or sisters that you feel is out of control or has a drug issue? What advice would you give them?
Well, we have one capability is our youth service officers that do a great job in this county. And we have implemented a program now that if parents wish to come 9 o'clock on Wednesday mornings and bring their child that they're having discipline problems with, unruly behavior that endangers them, then they can bring them to the YSO offices in our building at South Church Street. And a probation officer will meet with them at 9 o'clock and talk through the issues and try to put some services in the home immediately to try to have the parents give them some of the help that they need.
Yeah.
And it's basic. Some of it's parenting. Some it is they're at their wits' end.
Yeah.
But we do have capability even before they come into the court system to divert that and give the parents some help that they need.
I've shared with this committee, y'all have heard me mention my little brother's a DA agent, and he's told me the problem is getting out of control. He said the stuff that he's saying is just getting bad. This Mexican drug cartel is getting really bad, and I'm kind of trying to sound the alarm that way we don't look back 4 and 5 years from now. I don't wish we didn't act on some of these things sooner, but I appreciate no juvenile wants to go and face shoes, what everybody tells me. I appreciate the good job that you're
Thank you
doing
for
out
your
there.
concern. Just we're doing the best we can. We're busy. We're a busy court, but that's our job. Okay. Any other questions or anything?
About how many do you deal with in a year's time?
Well, I can tell you how many I held over the weekend. 17 I dealt with. I didn't think I was going to be here on time today. I had 17 held. That's not how many were arrested. That's how many were held over the weekend.
And it's not just males.
Oh, no, it's females. It's as
Yeah.
young as 8 and 9. And that's what I face every afternoon. Every afternoon.
How much of
That's
that's
just-
drug related?
Probably today, 3 of those were probably drug related.
Out of 17?
3 to 4. Well, that wasn't the charge.
Okay.
3 or 4 charges. Underlying, we're usually going to have a lot of drugs.
It is,
Underlying.
yes,
And
ma'am.
usually the marijuana is still the drug of choice.
Mm-hmm.
Still the drug of choice.
What do you tell people, though, that want to legalize marijuana that says it's not a problem? And what, all your experience, what do you tell that person?
I don't make
that
the
says
laws. I oppose the laws, but
Mhm.
it is a problem.
It is.
It is a problem for our children, and they're getting it younger and younger.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
District Attorney, Mr. Weissel and Leslie. You got their budget? Y'all doing all right tonight?
Doing good, Commissioner. Thank you.
Your request is actually a little bit less than last year.
I think that's right.
The amended budget last year was $65,433. This year is $65,358.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, domestic violence budget. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
You good?
Yeah, there's a ARA budget and then there's a regular budget. And still none of it's coming out of the general fund. Thank you.
All right, so we,
So on the first page is my regular budget, and again, it's still coming under, none of the funds are coming out of the general fund. It's all from the Victims Assistance Grant, and it's still under the total estimated collections. And then the next one is the stimulus grant budget, which was approved for 2 years. We're just wanting to, just a little bit less than last year, just to finish out that grant.
so both of these budgets are all grant money.
Grant and Victims Assistance.
Okay.
Mr. Jonathan.
And your first budget was last year was 168, 156. This year is 161, 621. And then the other budget for the domestic violence grant was 32, 310, and then you're down to 24, 8.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? You entertain a motion then, there's no questions.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion.
Just want to mention both these last two, we looked at it less than last year.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Question before you leave on this one. Where does the medical insurance come from? I notice you say assistance in yourself.
Yeah, there's a part of the Victims Assistance Fund goes to pay for an assistant district attorney to prosecute the domestic violence, and that's a full-time position.
Mhm.
And then I'm the other full-time position.
But I was asking the medical. Where's your medical insurance provided from?
Mine for
Good.
Cigna,
Yeah.
it's just through the county, the Cigna.
And the grant
Did I
money,
miss it in there in the list then? Oh, there it is, employee independent.
and the grant money is paying that as well through the budget.
Yes, sir.
Or the,
Yeah, we're
the
covering
fees.
the-
Still not.
Yeah, the Victims
Okay.
Assistance covering the match and everything.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Correctional Work Center report. How you doing? Actually, it looks like the head count is down for the month. Not much.
Yeah, it's been fluctuating. Like today it went up to 230, so like I said before, I believe from this spring to probably this fall, we probably want to stay up in the 230 range for the rest of the year.
Hey, well, before we get to looking at the report, but if you would, could you, I know you've told me, could you tell the committee kind of some of the things that you've actually done while you've been interim superintendent out there at the work center, some of the programs that you've implemented and different things?
We've tried to start a lot of new faith-based programs, also some programs that's going to help them with their life skills. There was already a parenting program when I got there. The Reformers Unanimous program that promotes faith-based addiction, deals with their alcohol and drugs and any kind of addiction really. And the biggest part of that program though, it just kind of ties them back with their spirituality and then works with whatever their addiction problems are. We're also getting ready to start implementing some programs to help them fill out resumes, help them with seeking jobs, where to go to get assistance when they do get released and getting back into society and getting them back on their feet, you know, and even things like helping them how to get transportation, where to go to find jobs and these things. And it's coming along. We're getting a lot of stuff scheduled. We even dealing with a lot of mental health issues. That's getting ready to get started next week. So there's a lot of programs going to be coming in there on a daily basis.
Okay. If I have any questions on this report,
I want to ask Lieutenant something. I don't put you on the spot. And you probably know where I'm going with this. You're pretty passionate about wanting to help some of these inmates. I feel that you're passionate. I know you're pretty strict too. But share with this committee why you're as passionate as you are.
Well, I've been doing this career for 22 years, but it was, there's things happen in your life that make you really want to dig deeper in yourself and make a difference, not just earn a paycheck or have a career. And 5 years ago, I lost my oldest daughter in a car accident. She was a freshman in college and going out with her friends one day after school, and it devastated me, to lose a child and wanted to be a doctor, and it was a great girl. So it just inspired me to look inside myself and what can I do to make a difference in my community and within myself. And just one day I woke up and it's like, well, you go to work every day, you deal with people that are dealing with a lot of issues, and most of them just need some help. Try to do that, and God has inspired me to every day try to make a difference in that level, not just with the inmates, but with my peers and people involved in law enforcement. So it's been an interesting journey so far.
Yeah. I know you shared the article today, I think in the Daily News Journal, where Pastor Carl Marable in the paper today, and a lot of people knew he went through a tough spell. I know you shared with me where you remember him being down in the dumps and how bad he got, and he got turned around. So the faith-based programs, the GD, and all that you're trying to do. I read the other day that $1 invested in education and trying to turn these guys around returns $2. So, we're seeing these. I mean, these budgets, thank God, have come in pretty low. But we're seeing what we talked about earlier with the drugs and what it's doing to the budgets and to society. But I just want to tell you, I appreciate the good job you're doing and you care about it. Because let's face it, a lot of officers don't care. You work with them, you don't want to admit it, but a lot of them don't care. So you do care, and I just want to applaud you for your desire to try to turn. Because you just say one of them is worth it.
Right.
Just one of them.
I appreciate that.
Anybody else have any questions? If there's no questions, I entertain them.
What about the litter detail? Is that up and functioning? I know we just had one crew.
Right, we had some issues with our vehicles and getting them, we had some communication problems I didn't like when I first got there. They didn't have radios in them, and
Right.
our guys were going out to some parts of the county that we weren't able to transmit. So we got that adjusted and corrected, and so now we got the 2 buses, the vans. So we've been going full blast for the past 2 weeks. So, and that's why you see one of the reasons too the gasoline budget went down on that amendment is because of that issue. Because with the 2 buses running, it's been using up a lot of gas. So, but yeah, we're back to getting a lot of these roads.
There's no doubt that's a good program. We need to stick with that. And
Definitely.
Anybody else? Sorry, Jack, I didn't see your hand down there. When
I just want to say thank you. You've been out in my area this last week. I appreciate that. Thank you.
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to report.
Motion to approve the report.
second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I think you've got a budget amendment.
Yes.
We'll just go ahead and just tell where it's coming from and the reason why.
The 6,000 we taken from the gas line to, like I said, to add to that budget line because we started running low on the gas account, and then we're taking the other amounts to provide funding for estimated medical expenses with our Southern Health partners. That's the company that oversees our medical needs there at the center. We've had some injuries that occurred that some of those hospital bills were kind of pricey, so we had, you know, something that we can't anticipate, but you know it happens, and that's why. And the ABL, that's the company that does our meals. That account, we needed to make sure we had enough money for the end of the fiscal year, so that's where those items are coming from to address those needs.
So all of it except for the $38,200 is within your budget, that the others come out of undesignated fund balance?
Right.
Okay. You've heard the request. What's the will of the committee? Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, did you talk with the finance, on, if there was anywhere else to dig up the money?
Yes, sir,
or
we do. Anytime I have these issues, I'll make sure we talk to them first.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else?
Yes, Lieutenant Salen, do you think this will get you through on gasoline the rest of the year and on the medical expenses down there?
I believe so.
Okay.
Lieutenant, what about Maddox Road? Y'all getting out there much? Y'all starting the problem out?
Yeah,
Couchville, some of that.
I think first week you said something about we went out there, and we probably rotate out there. Probably I'd say at the end of this week or next week we'll be back out there. Okay. So we're doing a good job with getting these roads because of the weather. You know, was so bad, but now it's getting better. So it's gonna be a busy spring and summer.
All right. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Sheriff Department report and budget. I spoke to the sheriff. He is not yet ready to present his budget. He's going to meet with the mayor, and so they're not here tonight. And next we'll have the emergency management agency. I think you got the report in front of you.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Pretty good. We have, there's a couple of things I want to bring your attention to on the report. One is on 3, 9, and 10. We had a interoperable communications exercise in Bison at the Fire Academy put on by the state. And we used our mobile command as the principal communications vehicle. And it worked well. We did a good job. We had some problems with the 800 band system, like 80% of everyone else out there, and but that's being worked on. So I'm very pleased with its operation and the radio system working and cross-banding, etc. Also, we had an incident that we responded to Station 4 to assist Murfreesboro Fire with a citizen brought a 100-pound unknown gas cylinder too. That was an interesting little thing that we've been working on. Bottom line is the company who owned that cylinder is coming to pick it up, maybe even today.
About 45 more minutes.
All right. And last but not least, bring your attention to we were requested to furnish communication support for the Smyrna Airport when they were bringing this weekend, our first 230th troops back, about 600-700 soldiers. And again, we used the mobile command to cross-patch and set up communications, and it worked beautifully without any problems. Even tying the 800 system with some of those problems that we had to work on, and working well. And happy to say that all the soldiers made it back safe and sound, and it was heartwarming to see the citizens come out and greet them, and a band playing, and it's nice to see our soldiers come back.
So you're talking about the mobile command, so that all the updates and everything's done on it, it's all up and running?
It's up and running. There's still a couple 800 things that we're working on. We have to add some things to one of the 800 radios to adapt to the after rebanding phase, but everything's working great. So I'm very pleased that it's getting to that. Next, I furnished a copy of training that emergency management is doing in ICS and hazmat classes, to kind of give you an idea. There's some federal mandates on ICS 300 and 400 training, along with that 1, 2, 7, and 800 training as well. And we are preparing more people to go through all the hazmat training to HMTO, which is Hazardous Material Team Operations. And we're doing training for our volunteers as well as our day full-time people. And you'll notice that we have some classes are at night and some are during the day so that we can accommodate our volunteers, and they are capable of getting the same and equal training. We have a PIO class that team is putting on coming up in May. So far, we have 11 people from this county that have applied for that training. And no one's been turned away yet, so we keep sending them forward for that. And the advanced cameo class, we're trying to set one up. We had a regular cameo class earlier this year, and we had to turn people away from it. Excellent class, and especially when people are using the computers for locating and doing plumes, and in Rutherford County we're doing electronic Tier 2 reporting, and that'll help in knowing where chemicals are kept and what companies' locations, etc. So it's a great tool, great training, a great advancement for this county in our fire service and responders. And that's all I have on the EMA side, and then Larry has on the fire.
Next page.
Yes, sir.
You had several structure fires out in the county.
Yes, sir.
Were the houses gone, I guess is the way to put it, or were they able to be saved? Or?
Well, some were saved and some were gone. There was Salem Blackman had a real good save. In one, there was a second story fire. They did a real good job on saving that house. And it all depends on the time or how far the fire is advanced before the alarm gets out to them. But our volunteer firemen do a great job.
No entries.
None that's been reported to me. I don't know of any.
Next page is the consolidated water report, and plus all the responses to the county volunteer fire departments and the training hours.
I got a question. Shouldn't those structure fires be on the fire coordinators?
They are.
He has it listed back here.
Okay.
They're on my report where I responded to them.
Okay.
The next page is the monthly water usage reported by each department that they use on structure fires or grass fires or trains. And then the next page is my report. The only thing I really want to talk about is that we started a firefighter rookie school the 1st of March, and this is we did it for 4 weeks. They only are required to have 64 hours, and we've actually been putting them through 80-hour class to make sure that they cover their hands-on practicals very well, and they know, we feel confident they know what they're doing. And this is the last week, and they'll be graduating. We start out with 29 students, and we'll be graduating 26 this Friday night.
All they lack on that is what, the live burn?
And then they have to go to live burn.
The live burn now has to be done at Bison.
Yeah. And from what I understand, they've been some changes to the fire commission, And they've actually cut that down where you have to go through a live burn as a firefighter 1, and then you have to go back as a firefighter 2. They split it. Because
Pull the propane tank out.
yeah, they pulled that out and ladder rescue out. I assume that if they go through the 10-week recruit class, they'll still have the complete live burn, but that's basically what we've been told.
At one time when you went through the 10-week, you could come out there as a firefighter 2 and go through that whole process.
You couldn't come out as a firefighter 2, you could come out as a firefighter 1 state certified, and then get your practicals for firefighter 2, but you had to wait a year before you could take your test.
Okay.
And they were looking at changing that from a year to 90 days, but I don't think they ever have yet. But this working school has really been exciting for me. I've really enjoyed it, and watching the guys start out that don't know anything and come through this class and really develop their skills, and they're real eager to obtain all this information.
How many firefighters are in that class?
They start out at 29, and we're going to graduate 26. Had 3 to drop out. I had one guy was in 3 days, and he called his chief on Thursday and said, "Here's my gear. This stuff ain't for me." I mean, he said, "This ain't my cup of tea." And then the last page that you see is the training report. We did a Tennessee Fire Academy class this last weekend. Half the day was at the EOC. The second day was spent at the Kittrell Training Facility. It was an intro to pumps class. And it was taught a lot about how to operate the pump and friction loss on the hoses and stuff. And it was really a lot of good information to help the guys do a better job of operating their pumps on fire zones.
These 26 firefighters that are going to graduate, are all the volunteer units going to be adequately staffed, would you say, or are there some that are shy? Or?
Well, we have some departments that are short-handed and they don't have a good response in the daytime. Mm-hmm. There are some departments that are well equipped during the daytime. It just depends on what part of the county that you're responding to. Mm-hmm. We had a fire last week, and it was in the paper, Christiana, and Christiana had 1 truck respond, 1 firefighter respond, but we had 3 other departments there to back them up. So, I mean, you know, if they don't get a response, any structure fire in the county, they dispatch 2 fire departments automatically. Mm-hmm. And if according to based on if there's not a good response from especially the main department, they start getting other departments in the route.
Let me ask you a question. So you got 26 people, and when's the last day for the
Friday night?
Friday night, and that you'll have a graduation.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be a big deal, but we'll be finishing up the class that night, and about 9 o'clock we'll probably just finish up. And
the reason I was asking if you're going to have some kind of graduation, and so maybe for some of those 26 people, if Channel 19 may come out and have a kind of a
if they do
showcase those individuals for the graduation. That's something to be proud of. Go through that.
And there's firefighters from just about every department. Not all departments are represented, but there's firefighters from several different departments. And the chief of Lascassas told me before we got through this class, it's a flat fee that $175 instead of the $90 per student. And he told me to go ahead and plan one for the fall that he would pay for it too. So that is just a good opportunity for them to get the training at no cost to them.
Yeah. Just a thought for Channel 19, just to be able to showcase those individuals.
Also, last summer, the mayor commission, you might say, or got together a study group for the.
Is that something to do with your report?
No.
All right, I need to get a motion on the report.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. So I'm sorry.
The mayor put together a fire rescue study group it's been about a year ago, and we have met over the course of a year and studied and working with Kevin Lauer, the CTAS study guy from the University of Tennessee, the possibility of looking at creating a county fire rescue department. And this is the report that we received back from them that we're giving to the mayor. We have met with the 3 departments involved, and they have voted to go with this. the mayor couldn't be here tonight, but he just wanted me to give you a copy of this for let y'all be able to read over it and study it. And then he said the possibility of maybe scheduling a special meeting just to cover this.
So all the mayor needs us to do is just read this.
He wanted to give that to give it to you for your information to study and read over, and then that way you would, whenever we met to discuss it, you would have some information that you would be able to have time to digest it.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause so much stuff right there. Going through here
About
tonight.
35 pages.
Yeah. All right.
Some of it's maps.
Yeah. But before I want to read it before I start.
But he
So would I.
he just commissioned, put together this committee to look at, what we need to do as far as bringing the fire service and rescue, response in this county up to a better response and, having a county department and as we start going that way, because Rutherford County has grown so much in the last 10 years, a lot of things changes and training requirements have changed. And of course volunteers are great, but like I said a while ago, some departments have a good response in daytime, some of them don't. And so that's kind of a overall report to the mayor of what we feel like we need to do or need to accomplish.
Okay. All right. And y'all got anything else?
That's it.
All right.
I have one thing I'd like to ask. I asked it about twice a year. In light of these reports that come over TV from time to time about what the threat level is and all from the terrorist side of things, is there anywhere in the state here that they're really talking about instructions to the public about what to do in the different types of expected attacks? They keep saying, we expect in this next 6 months that the U.S. is going to get hit. But they can't say how we're going to get hit because we're dealing with a terrorist organization.
Right, it's a readiness comment or statement where they're wanting everyone to be prepared and stay alert. There is not anything that's been published or put out for in the state of Tennessee, you need to watch for this or whatever.
Okay, well, I just wanted to keep the public aware of that if possible.
But the thing is,
no criticism at the local level
no,
is implied.
I understand, but terrorists are there, and we have to understand and be aware that we don't know where and when they will attack or what they will do or how they will do it. And so we have to be diligent and we have to be prepared and be ready for anything to happen. I think as a nation and as a state, I think we've done a tremendous job in doing some of that. Let's just hope it's enough.
Amen to that. Thank you. I didn't want to throw a sour note, but I think it's important that we not lose our alertness as citizens.
Larry, was you gonna get with Brian, IT, what Gary's talking about?
Anybody else? Thank y'all. All right. Pause. How are you doing tonight?
Wonderful, and you?
Any better? I couldn't stand it.
It's a good thing.
All right.
This is our February and fiscal report to date. The first 2 pages are for the month of February. On the first page, we have our monthly intakes, 567, 184 adoptions, 266 animals euthanized, 51 reclaimed by owners. The adoption reclaim rate for the month of February was 44%, the euthanasia rate of 50%. 2,316 people visit the shelter looking for a lost or new pet. On the next page, the number of Request for service, 1,075. Calls completed with carryover from previous month, 1,094. Breakdown of where those calls were originated from, and then the mileage on the trucks. On the fiscal to date since July 1st, we have had a total of 5,690 animals in the facility, 1,353 adoptions, 3,658 animals euthanized, 379 animals reclaimed by an owner, for a total adoption reclaim rate of 30% and euthanasia rate of 64%. Request for service since July 1, 11,159. Number of calls complete, 11,198. The next page is the rabies exposure and bite report for February. We had a total of 15 bites, actual bites reported. 6 of those animals were actually submitted to the state lab for testing. There were no positives. On the other rabies exposure, we had 6 reported, 4 tested with no positives in February. Brings the total since January. Bites are tracked on a calendar year. 34 reported bites, 11 of those animals tested with no positive. Other rabies exposure, 12 reported, 10 tested, and 1 marked as a positive, which actually was unsatisfactory. That was the skunk that had been shot in the head, and they couldn't get an adequate reading, so they treat the unsatisfactories as positives.
Just something you might mention is you do have an animal that you're going to shoot. Don't shoot it in the head so they can test them.
Yeah.
So they'll take the brain out and do the testing.
Don't shoot it in the head, don't beat it in the head with a shovel. We had that this current month, so we had another unsatisfactory this month. They have to have that brain matter to test. Next 3 pages are just the comparisons for the intake on the first graph.
Let me ask you a question on that. Why is it for the last 4 years, it starts up here in July, by the time December, January, February roll around, it's at the lowest, and then it starts spiking up?
Has to do a lot with the weather, and also when school's in and out. You're gonna have families taking vacations. Friday, for example, we had a line at our receiving door that started at 7:30, nonstop until close to noon. People surrendering their pets.
They can't
Going out
find
of
somebody to
town,
watch
can't
it.
find somebody to watch it. Just, you name it, all kinds of excuses. Probably next weekend, we'll probably have people coming in wanting to adopt. And then come time getting closer for school to get out, we'll start receiving a lot of animals as people start planning their summer vacations. We also end up with a lot of abandonment calls during that period too, and neglect calls where people go out of town and leave the pet chained out. Neighbors don't know if anyone's taking care of the animal. In many cases, they're not. In many cases, they do have someone that's coming over, but it's at a time that the neighbors aren't noticing. So it all just seems to play into that same period every year. When it's cold out, people keep their pets in more so than outside. And also in the spring, you have more litters and things, and they're not able to find homes for them, so we end up with those pets.
I mean, it's just like
Every year.
every year.
And you'll also notice, not so much with the adoptions, but with the call activity. It stays pretty much the same as well. Number of complaints received and how it kind of goes through the same stages as far as during the cold months and summer months when more people are out and about. Of course, we receive more calls, and when the weather's bad, people are in. People aren't seeing as much. We're not receiving as many calls. The last page there is just to make you guys aware. That's just kind of the flyer, what will be the flyer for the rabies clinic that's coming up. It's going to start April 5th and run through Saturday, April 10th. The participating clinics that you see listed will be administering rabies vaccinations and tags for $10. This information will be available on our website, and we will be getting flyers out.
Speaking of veterinarians, and I know it's been on the Channel 19 advertisement for the vacancy. Anybody?
I have not received any applications in my office as of yet. I don't know if HR's gotten any in the last week or so, but.
And we advertised it at 52,000.
52,000, we just posted that week before last, I believe.
Tracy, that euthanasia rate at 64%, is that been steady for the past few years, or has that dropped some, or?
Pretty close, and that's gonna, if you kind of look, I broke it down. Are you looking at the,
I'm on page 3. Yes, it is.
okay. Yeah, if you kind of look, cats really, it's broken down by species as well, dog, cats, other, which is gonna be your wildlife and exotics. The dog adoption reclaim rate, much higher than cats. It's in that same section down there. You just work across from adoption reclaim rate. Under the dogs was at 53% so far for the fiscal year, with a euthanasia rate at 44. Cats are, the adoption reclaim rate's only 13% with a euthanasia rate of 86%.
Wow.
A lot of people, more people come in looking to adopt or looking for lost dogs than cats. Yeah, that rate, seems to be pretty steady right now, and in line for previous years.
And with the kind of the thing that showed a while ago, your responsibility makes that go up as well, too.
Absolutely. The number of intakes absolutely has an effect on that rate. The more animals coming in, being an open intake facility, the more animals coming in, the higher that rate is going to be to make space for the others coming in.
I was talking to somebody that they, I don't know, you may be familiar with the program. They come down, they pick up unwanted dogs, and I mainly it's dogs, I guess, and they take them up north somewhere, and they find homes for them up there. Are you familiar with some?
Yeah, there are a
program
few.
that does that?
There are a few different programs that are similar, and we do have some rescue groups that we work with that have pulled some dogs from our facility that have gotten into that program.
But really,
Do you count those as
that's going to be limited. What you
They
can do
actually are
there.
paying a fee. Those rescue groups are paying an adoption fee when they pull those animals.
They
Some
are.
of those are
Yes, sir. To
breed
get them fixed and
related too.
vaccinated. I'm sorry?
Is it not true that some of those are breed related?
Yes. Some.
Why are they paying a fee?
Under the state law, the animal has to be spayed and neutered,
Oh, okay, they're paying for
being
that.
released
Okay.
for the shelter, so they pay that adoption fee. It covers the vaccinations that we're providing and covers the vouchers for the spay, neuter, and the rabies vaccination.
Well, at that rate being, I mean, to me, that's high, with all due respect, but is other counties, are we lower than other counties, or are we the same?
Some counties we're lower than, some we're going to be much higher than. I mean, you have to look at the number of facilities in a county. Davidson County, for example. You've got Nashville Humane, which is a private organization that takes in owner surrender pets. You have Metro Animal Control that only takes in stray animals, okay, for the most part. We don't have that luxury here. We are the only open intake facility in the county, so we receive all of those. Probably over half, close to half of the animals that come to our facility are surrendered by their owner. Owner no longer wants them. We try to encourage those owners to try to work with these rescue groups directly. Contact, we give them names, numbers, tell them how to find them on the websites, so that they can try to find another place, someone else to help them with that pet rather than submit it to the shelter.
Well, this lady was telling me they don't have that much of a problem up. I don't know where she was talking about up north. I don't know if it's Connecticut or where, but she was telling me that they don't have the problems that we have down here. And I don't know if people are. She was saying people are a little bit more responsible on pet ownership. I don't know if they're having to get a tag or register the animals or what. But she said they just don't have the problems that we see down here.
They've had really progressive spay-neuter programs longer than it has been in the South and the northern states. That has some play in it. I think, though, to get truly accurate, I mean, I've seen studies that show the problem is not as bad. I've also seen studies with animal control facilities. You call up to those same states and talk to the local animal control and say, hey, you guys have a shortage of, whatever breed that seems to be being pulled. And they're like, no, we're still full and we're still euthanizing animals. So I think it depends on the groups that you're talking to. I mean, I don't know any one report that is totally accurate, so I'm not sure what that answer would be or how they might compare to us.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? So we have a motion, do we?
Motion to approve the report.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Drug court report, I don't think Mary is here. And we'll,
She
let's see,
misses a lot, doesn't she?
huh?
She misses quite a few.
Juvenile detention report. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are y'all?
You good?
Thank you.
That's not bad, then.
All right, gentlemen, this is my February report. It's what you're used to seeing. If you have any questions, I will happily answer them. Don't think that there's anything particular that stands out with this month's report. I have currently 4 counties that I am waiting to receive checks from. It's not unusual. They range from owing 2 days to owing 5 days. So we're not concerned about that.
As far as your number of people in locked up, or is that up or down, or?
It has been down. I think it's starting to creep back up. So.
Any more questions?
How's the new facility worked out?
Well, it's 1,000 times better than the old facility,
Yeah.
so we love
Really?
it. We have an occasional problem with our water heater and the boilers, but you know, in the big scheme of things, it's great.
You know, I was asking the judge earlier about drug problem with juveniles. How bad do you see? What percentage would you say are drug related? A lot of the juveniles that you house.
I think it's like she was saying. If you just take the drug charges, it's not going to be an accurate percentage. But if you know the history of the children and the family history, I think it's going to be quite a few.
Gotten worse over the years that you've seen.
Well, it's at least stayed the same. It's not getting any better. I know that I think they're using younger.
Yeah.
So, of course, then it gets worse as they age.
Yeah.
What's the youngest drug problem that y'all seen?
With the actual the age of the user, we have 9-year-olds that come in there that report that they use marijuana daily.
Lord have mercy.
And Care here is the one that's dispensing the drugs now?
That's
Has
correct.
there been, this is the second year? Is it? Well, something like that anyhow.
It's close.
Yeah. Have you had any problems?
No, what we love. I mean, if it wasn't the budget year that it was, I would be asking to increase the amount of time that they spend with us. So that's a good thing.
It takes quite a bit of liability off the county as well by doing that.
Yes, sir.
Lynn, when was your first year?
93.
93. Back then, you know, you look at your female count here. Back then, you didn't hardly see any females, did you?
I think, well, yeah, we did. I think the female population has actually stayed the same.
Has it?
The early to mid 90s is when when our gangs boomed in Rutherford, our youth gangs boomed in Rutherford County. So we had a lot of hardcore little female gangbangers in the 90s. Now then that slacked off and it's coming back around, but mid 90s was jumping.
Looks like it, about 30% females.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta remember, we were a tenth of the size we are now. I started in '93
Well,
and it was
that's
8,000
true. That
in
is true.
Smyrna, and we're almost at 40,000 now, so.
When I was younger, girls just didn't get in trouble like they do today, you know. I don't know. Just surprised.
We have a young lady that we're currently housing that is she has federal charges against her, and she's she's not inadvertently and accidentally involved in the crimes that she's committed. She's a ringleader.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion on the report yet?
Motion approved.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you. OSHA report, I think you got it in front of you. How you doing tonight?
Doing fine, thank you. For the month of February, we had 24 injuries requiring medical attention. That brings up to 44 for the year-to-date. For the total OSHA recordables for the year is 29. Of those 29, 9 of them had restricted days, and you can see the count there. 8 of them had lost claim days, and then 12 were other recordables. Next page kind of gives you the snapshot for so far this year compared to the last 2 years as to where they stand at this time. The total dollars incurred for the month of February was $33,942. And as for the breakdown, the Board of Education had 16 claims of those 24, and the County General had 8. And the dollars incurred for the Board of Education was $20,017, and for the County General it was $13,925. Just give you a quick snapshot of that.
Any questions? If there's no questions, I entertain a motion on the report.
Motion approved.
Got a motion, have a second?
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I would like to touch on 2 things from last month we had left open. Commissioner Schaefer, you'd asked me a couple questions. I wanted to go back and address that. You'd asked in the County General kind of what the breakdown was on that for January. I told you that it was the Sheriff's Department had the majority of those. There was 9 in that County General last month for January, I mean. And there were 4 other departments that had 1 each. And then just to carry that on into this month, we had 8, I told you, for the County General. There was 6 in the Sheriff's Department, and there was 3 other departments that had 1 each. So again, the Sheriff's Department, as you get back to your question that you asked. I also told you that Tim Street was going to be conducting some safety training with the Board of Education, meeting with the custodians. He did that today. He met with the lead custodians for the Board of Education from the different schools. There's about 50 individuals there. Some of the things they went over their role as the lead custodian in safety and training, and talked about that. They also talked about observation and documenting what they need to do in the way of safety and training for that. And then he kind of brought it all together with them about developing standard operating procedures and some of the things. And this is an effort to try and get a head start on what we look at and we see during the summer months. One of the big issues we have is when they strip the floor. Everybody's doing different things on stripping of the floors, how they do it. He got quite an array of talking to the individuals today on how they did this and that, and it was obvious that if they had some standard operating procedures that they could be able to try and alleviate some of the injuries that they incurred during the summer, being the slips and falls from that, and then strains also. So the effort today to do that, and it went very well, and I wanted to mention that to you, what Tim did, and tell you what an outstanding job he's doing. So.
As long as Mr. Good's here, I'd just like to mention something, and you might have sent it out, but I read today, and it came out from California Highway Patrol, maybe it was a report, maybe it wasn't, maybe you didn't send it. But anyhow, it was about a guy that was going down the freeway, and he was all of a sudden went across the median, slammed head on into a Hummer. And it turns out when the police got there and looked at the accident and everything, that his laptop was still plugged up and running in his car. But it also went a step further, and it said in the majority of the accidents that are caused by distractions of drivers in California were due to cell phones. Just as a thought to point out.
Thank you. They are out there, and they do. And I've actually seen people as I drive down the interstate. I drive the interstate every day coming to and from work, and I'll glance over and I see people, and most of it has to do with texting when they're on it. It's not just the talking. It seems like they're better, but I've seen people sit there and look down and be texting that for a couple of minutes. It seems like they're just,
I literally seen one the other morning coming in Old Fort Parkway. Had the newspaper up in the dash on the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen them with books too.
Well, not to say anything about females, but I see them put on their, used to see when I went in 24, putting the makeup
That's
on as
males
they're
and
going down
females.
there. Yeah, that's probably true.
That's all I had. I just did want to bring you up to date on the things that we left on the table last month.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, ambulance service report. Mike? Been peacefully waiting. Yeah. Just like next month, you're gonna be up at the top. Thank you, Mike.
We made 1,318 calls last month. Average response time 7.8 minutes. 17 coroner's calls. We billed 984,967. Collected 406,460. Our year-to-date collections are 3,450,219, and our projected collections will be 5,175,329, which is a little over what we were budgeted for. We had insurance write-offs of $351,739. Collection agency write-offs $60,923, and county discount $3,017. Table at the bottom of the page is the table for operating costs and repairs for our ambulances, as well as miles driven. We drove a total of 26,042 miles. And on the very bottom of the page is our out-of-zone calls, 285. That seems to stay about the same every month. The next page is our in-services and training and special event standbys and our SORT team operations actions for the month. And the next page is the response time report, broken down by stations, change of response time. Critical care transport admission transfers were 44. That same team also made 42 911 calls. And that brings us to the total of 1,518. Support team made 109 and the SORT team made 2 calls. Next page is number of calls broken down by commissioner's district, and it also breaks down the critical transport team's calls. And the following page is the same information except on year to date. And we have a whole volume of letters and so forth that we've received, and I would encourage you, when you have time, to read those, because some of them are pretty interesting. First one there is actually a letter that was sent to the Murfreesboro Fire Department and to the ambulance service. And it's a lengthy letter, but it's a nice thing.
Anybody have any questions for Mike? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion on his report.
Motion. Second.
So moved.
All right, got a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. I think you got a,
I have a budget amendment. It just has to do with a check for $4,518 that we received from NTSU, and we wanted to put it back in the line items where we paid the money out.
that's just where you're going out there and standing by there paying you back. You've heard the request, entertain a motion.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, we got to call a roll here.
Commissioner Black?
Yes.
Commissioner Daniels?
Yes.
Commissioner Hall?
Yes.
Commissioner Petty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shaver?
Yes.
Commissioner Sparks?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes. Anything else? Appreciate it, Mike. All right, before you, tonight, we've got the wheel tax officer's report. Mark couldn't make it tonight, but, he said there's nothing that stands out, and, there are some decreases in the three, line items for February on the wheel tax titles and all that, so wasn't a good month. And once you get through reading it, we'll entertain a motion.
Did he say why those increases or decreases were there? Can you attribute to anything?
No. Looks like he had 18 schools that he went to previously that he followed up on. And 8 of them are current. When you get through with that, I'll entertain a motion for his report.
Motion approved.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion is carried. Looks like that's all our agenda tonight. Is there any other business?
Mr. Chair, we got quite a few visitors with us tonight. I think we might ought to give him an opportunity to recognize them, if that's okay with the rest of the committee.
Yeah. Are y'all all with MTSU? I know some of you.
Yeah, we're in Tennessee government, and we're required to go to one county meeting, or just, I guess, meeting in general.
Just a
so.
local government meeting.
Well, we hope you learned something tonight. Hope we hadn't bored you to death.
We're with leadership.
Okay. All right. Appreciate y'all being here.
The young lady in the back.
My name is Tiffany Jones. I'm running for County Commission in the fall, District 8.
Okay. Nice to meet you. All right. Oh, Rick, I'm sorry.
Just mostly a public service and that. As of the 11th, the DMV office, Department of Motor Vehicle Tag Office is open now in Smyrna on Weekly Lane. So once you get your admissions, you can come right out and go in the new building. It's really nice. If y'all got 5 minutes, go check it out. They got a lot more space and more efficient. It's a good looking building, but it is now up and running, no issues that we're aware of.
I've heard a lot of people down there really, they like it, and the employees like it, and it's an asset down there. Mike?
Just want to elaborate what Roger mentioned on the soldiers from the 230th returning home. Just want to thank them. That's the unit that the Smyrna High graduate, Billie Jean Grinder, she was 25, that was killed over in Iraq, was in. So just want to thank them, welcome them back home.
Okay. What?
The first one, I just wanted to, we're talking about.
This?
Yeah. I was at the correctional work center for that. But it was in the work center meeting. It's where they brought it up and made that decision. You know, we didn't get to that, the minutes of their meeting. I just thought it was interesting.
You want to bring it up?
No.
Oh, I was fixing to say.
Just letting you,
Okay.
make sure you read it, because it was buried in the
Right.
back, everything.
All right, is anybody else? Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank y'all.